Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Curtis Cummings. You're here with us today, March, Thursday. What day is it? The 21st? Today's March 21st, 2024. We are the New Orleans game developers, and this is the third Thursday meetup. You're here today for the Education Summit, as you can see. Sponsored by Pixel Dash Studios. Pixel Dash has an office here at the shop workspace, and they sponsor our ability to come here and host these events here. It's a very beautiful place. Wonderful. We love having it here. Who are we? We're the New Orleans Game Developers Group. What we do is we host events. We host game jams, which is a type of event. We host classes. We try to educate people and get people involved in the funness of creating video games. And specifically here in the city of New Orleans, where we live and breathe, we have our meetup, which you are here for today. This is the third Thursday of the month. We typically do these on the third Thursday of the month. Sometimes we don't. And you'll have to scan this QR code here to join our Discord and find out if we don't have a meetup that particular month. Or you can go to our website, neworleansgamedev.com, where there's a handy calendar, which will tell you all of our upcoming events. Our Discord server also has a bot that populates Discord events with our events. You'll see all of it. We also have a hack night every Tuesday. We don't actually run it, but a larger group of Noel developers go. We also have show and tell every other Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. at the Sea Cave Arcade, which is at 3000 St. Claude Avenue. That's hosted by our good pal Dex. He does that. It's a lot of fun. You go bring whatever you're working on and show it off in the Sea Cave. Get other people to play. It's a lot of fun. We also do seasonal game jams that are flavored like fruit. We have one coming up eventually. Don't worry about it. And we have more types of meetups, all kinds of shit. So we got a few community announcements. So we're going to start Patreon. I should have made it go live today, but we didn't. And that's okay. Only $5 a month. If you donate money to us, we'll have more money to spend on more technology and equipment and stuff, so we can have better and cooler events, and maybe we can even like cater events and do all kinds of stuff and have showcases and big conferences and stuff. I'm getting ahead of myself. Don't worry about that. We can pay people for things if we have money. Speakers, employees, a street team, even our own game development vendors. What if New Orleans game developers, this group that makes these meetups happen, could publish your video game? But yeah, so that's our Patreon. Consider donating to us. It'll be live at some point tonight. It's patreon.com/NOGD. You can sign up and help fund these wonderful events. We also have
partnering with the New Orleans Public Library right now to create a certain amount of educational workshops. What those are going to entail is we're going to ask people within our community and people outside of our community, like, what would they like to teach people? It doesn't have to be strictly game dev. Something that's like hopefully somewhat adjacent is okay, but something that mostly they find interesting or they're passionate about and that they would otherwise like kind of want to tell. I think we're going to start working on some audio, like some higher level audio workshop stuff when we first started out. It's going to be alternating Wednesdays with show and tell, so you can work on your thing and then you can bring it to show and tell. And you can say, look at the thing I made. And wouldn't that be neat? We're going to have some preliminary trial runs in April. They're going to be from around, I think, 4:30 to 6:50. If you don't want to work on whatever is being offered, we'll have additional rooms rented out for people just to work together and generally look at the stuff they're working with. So if you just want also a place that is fairly relaxed to work on something new and not be around, 1,000 people, alcohol, etc., these are going to be for you. We're pretty excited about it. Hopefully this kind of like fixates us towards more educational programs in the future with the library. We'll see. It seems like that might be pretty promising in the future, judging from the conversations I've had. But yeah, they're going to be alternating Wednesdays with show and tell at the Rosa Keller Public Library on Broad. Yeah, we're going to be there setting up at like 4:30. People can come by at any time. We're going to try to make our workshop start around 5:30-ish. I understand that's like kind of a tight deadline for people getting off of work, but the library is only open for so long. So, having said that, I guess we have another answer. we're gonna have a couple. So what we want to do, ideally, I'm working with Brian on this. Is basically we want to start getting 4 in advance for people to look at and kind of say like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to do this one on, I don't know, IK programming. But I would want to do this one on how to do hand-drawn textures within Blender. We would just kind of have our next coming 4 announced for you. We'll also kind of encourage people to sign up beforehand if they need supplies or something like that. We're going to try to have just a couple of computers on hand for people who might not have it. We'll have thumb drives with the sort of acceptable hardware and stuff like that if they're free. And generally, yeah, we'll have a big announcement of all that sort of stuff as it comes up. Anything else? I guess we have jams coming up. We're shooting for May for our next game jam. It's probably going to be closer to our sort of 10-day things. We're thinking basically we have a jam schedule now. Our jam schedule is going to be our global game jam, which is your traditional 72-hour jam, our 10-day jam in May, our pig jam at the end of summer, and winter jam. I don't know what we're going to do for the other jam, but it'll be fun. We'll figure it out. We got months. We got a long time. Events. Give NOLA Day's coming up. That's going to be in May. We're going to have a thing for that. We'll probably have an event for that, but we don't know what that is yet. But we're on the little things. Give NOLA Day is on May 7th, 2024, and we are a part of it, so please give us NOLA Day. GiveNOLA.org. We just had a whole bunch of games added to the IndieCab. We're going to have a day for it, probably sometime in April. It's going to generally rent out a portion of Sea Cave, have people decorate the cab, have people draw on it if they want to. If anyone else wants to add games to it, just let me know. I'd be happy to add whatever people want to it. That's the whole point of the thing, just the cab to show off the indie games we have. We just got like 4 new games added to it, so we want to have a little day for it. We're talking with Dex. We're probably going to have somebody DJ. We're going to try to have food, all this sort of fun stuff. So it should be a good time. It should be a silly time.
So this is a very important thing for me in particular, because if there's no speakers here for the meetup, then I have to talk. And people don't like when I talk for too long because I tend to say weird things. So if you don't want weird things to be said on a live broadcast, that part of a community that you want to be a part of, you should volunteer to talk here at the meetup. As you can tell from my presentation style, you can talk about anything. You can talk about whatever you want, man. Like I don't care if you even know what you're talking about. If you want to work on your public speaking skills here for 30 minutes to an hour, I will let you. I will broadcast you to the internet for everyone to see, no matter what you want to talk about. As long as you don't say horrible things. I say weird things, but don't say horrible things. I think there's a fine line there we can all sort of navigate together. But yeah, if you want to volunteer to give a speaker, message me on Discord. If you're in our Discord, which you can, I'll go back here. You can scan this QR code. You will join our Discord. Look for the little goblin picture guy. That's me. My name's Curtis. You can message me. You can tell me about whatever crazy idea you got, and I'll let you give a presentation. We need people to give these presentations so that there's a reason for us to do all this. And also, we're relaunching our website. If you didn't know, we have a website. We remade our website. The website no one ever went to. We remade it. We dared to do it. It's much more sustainable. It's easy to upgrade and extend and stuff. We'll be able to make special pages that read from Google Events API to make dynamic pages made with Gatsby and React. It's all open source. It's on GitHub. If you want to contribute, you can contribute. Anyone who wants to do free labor is welcome to do free labor, as far as I'm concerned. It's usually our free labor that gets done. But if other people want to volunteer their labor, you're more than welcome to. And that was the last announcement. So, without further ado, we will get to the meat and potatoes of the whole night. I want to let everyone know that we have a contingency of guests here with us. Hello, our Google Meet participants. So, these are all of our guests here. We have Dr. Ben Samuel here from the University of New Orleans. He's the little guy in the corner. Much bigger in the same rectangle as him is Mr. Mark Abino, leader of DMAE at LSU. Then next to him, we have Mr. Donald Vermillion, instructor at the Academy of Interactive Entertainment. Then we have Claude. Is it Richard or Richard?
Richard.
Okay, Richard. I have a friend whose name is spelled the same way, but it's Richard. So, always got to make sure if it's French or not. Claude Richard from Delgado Community College. Thank you for joining. And then also, last but not least, we have Mr. John Fabbroni from Operation Spark.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It is an absolute pleasure to be here to our live studio audience and everybody joining us from YouTube land. My name is Ben Samuel, and today I'm here to tell you all about game design and development at the University of New Orleans. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got about 60 slides worth of content and 10 minutes to do it. So let's get started. First, by telling you a little bit about me. That's me. Look at that. I'm a friendly, nice guy. I am the director of the Light Game Lab at UNO. I'm an associate professor of computer science. I got my start, got my PhD at the University of California, Santa Cruz, studying under Michael Mateus, who you might know is the designer of Facade, if you're familiar with that from YouTube, perhaps. And I've made a couple of games in my own life, one of which was the game Prom Week. Prom Week is a game inspired by social simulation, social theory, like dramaturgical analysis by Irving Goffman. The game itself is a little bit like The Sims. You select pairs of characters, you have them do things with one another, and although on the surface it might look very simple, it plays out using fully realized English dialogue, and we're very proud to say that of the hundreds of thousands of playthroughs, it only takes, I know that's a very tiny image if you're here, but that only takes a few interactions before the story that you are experiencing is entirely unique. Once those nodes turn blue, that means your story is unlike anyone else's who's ever played Prom Week, of which we're very proud. And it's not just us that's proud. We've shopped Prom Week around at various festivals, including the IGF at GDC. Shout out to all of you in San Francisco right now. And it was nominated for various awards for technical excellence and things like that. We're very proud. But that's just one game that I have made. I'm also proud to say that in addition to being a professor of computer science and having a PhD in computer science, I'm also an actor. I also have a degree in theater arts. I also have a background as a professional actor, both of stage and film. And I bring this up not just to tell you about myself, but to showcase my second game, to preface my second game, Bad News. Bad News is an installation art piece that's been played at computer science venues. It's been played in the middle of redwood forests. And the basic upshot of this game is that you explore a procedurally generated town with about 150 years of simulated history. The townsfolk live their daily lives. They run errands. They talk with each other. So in addition to the ground truth of the simulation, every individual person has their own perception of reality. And you, as the player, are the county mortician's assistant. And it is your job to explore this virtual town, finding out the identity of a John Doe or a Jane Doe that has recently deceased and inform their next of kin of the titular bad news. And you play this game with a live improvisational actor, i.e. me, who then portrays the role of all of the simulated townspeople. Whatever, this game won a lot of awards too. We're very proud. In addition to being showcased at computer science venues and independent game festivals, it's also been presented at film festivals like Slam Dance. It was showcased at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. And just in general, I think is indicative of who I am, and more importantly, the type of culture that I try to nurture at the University of New Orleans that really encourages students to pursue both sides of their brain. Computer science, of course, involves a lot of technical mastery and programming and algorithmic thinking, but game design, as I'm sure all of us in this room know, is a pursuit of art, a pursuit of creativity. And you need both if you're going to be making digital games. And I try to, inspire my students to do that, being a role model. Anyway, enough about me. Let us chat a little bit about the computer science UNO department. So if you were to go to UNO and study computer science, you would be getting a degree in computer science. You'd be learning about game design, sure, but you'd also be learning about cybersecurity. You'd be learning about algorithmic analysis. You'd be learning about programming languages. You'd be learning about compilers. You'd be learning about all of the traditional hardcore CS stuff that will open many doors for you in any tech job that you might find yourself wanting to pursue. And in addition to me, there's a bevy of fellow faculty members and student support specialists that are here to ensure that your time at UNO is what you want it to be, that it ends up being a big success, and that when you graduate with your degree, as this plethora of stock photography demonstrates, you will be capable of getting any job in the tech industry, not just one in game design. Although, that said, game design is recognized as one of the top up-and-coming professions in specifically the Louisiana area. So maybe you don't even need any other doors to be open. Maybe the game design door is, in fact, enough. I'm, of course, here to talk about game design. I am the head of the game development concentration, is what we call it at UNO, but UNO also has a lot of other concentrations. So if you decide to come to UNO and then you end up falling in love with cybersecurity, bioinformatics, something else, we've got you covered. There's lots of options, and it's also not mutually exclusive. You can take classes from any concentration as you continue your academic journey. But again, we're here for game dev. So let us dive specifically into what that might look like for you as a UNO student. The game dev concentration is like a little extra bit of whipped cream on top of your CS degree ice cream sundae. You'd still be taking all of those hardcore CS classes that we're talking about, but on top of that, you take a few additional classes. And I'm here to tell you about what some of those are, as taken from the UNO course catalog, which you can look at as much as you would like. Everybody takes the game development class and the advanced game development class, and then chooses two additional electives from a pool of other classes, ranging from topics on introduction to artificial intelligence, to web development, to also just industry internships or computer graphics. But the two core classes, the fundamentals of game development class and the advanced game development class, are the classes that I teach and the classes that I think I'm the most proud of. The fundamentals of game development class is essentially two classes in one. The goal of this class is to not only teach you the technical know-how and technical skills that you need to develop digital games, but it also is intended to teach you to think and write and talk about games as cultural artifacts, to develop up a critical discourse to be able to reason about and understand games on a deep, fundamental mechanical level, as well as how they actually impact players and the culture that the people who live in these cultures engage in. And so that's, I could tell you more specifics about all of the topics that we talk about in this class, but really the main thing that I am excited about. Did somebody click on the thing? Did focus go away? The main thing that I'm excited to show you is just some of the freaking games that students have made. We teach a variety of game engines in the class. Students also have free reign to choose other engines that they want. We can see that there's games made in Pico 8. There's games made in Game Maker. This is a horror game. This was a cool little ninja game with a unique jumping mechanic. A pro wrestling game. Twine interactive fiction games using the Game Boy emulator. Another Pico 8 game. This was a game where you're an angel building up a town in heaven. You have to traverse a cave to hell to get resources to build up your town. This is the best adaptation of Unity's rollerball tutorial I've ever seen. 16 levels of marble adventure made by my good friend, my good student Bon, a Watership Down inspired rabbit game using, the Unity like first-person shooter thing. A game kind of like along the lines of Super Mario Galaxy, playing around with like gravity and physics and jumping around. Sort of like a side scroller, like space shoot 'em up. This is in the lower right hand corner, a game that involved a lot of like AI and like playing around with like light and like sight cones, some like traditional kind of like Earthbound-esque inspired like RPGs. In the lower right, this game where everything is in pitch darkness and you throw these like light balls and then they reverberate light and you use that to explore. In the interest of time, we're going to be going quickly here, but the idea is that across a variety of game engines, across a variety of game genres, I am extremely proud of the versatility and ingenuity that the students at UNO have shown year after year after year after year here we go. And so now, at this point, we transition into the advanced game development class. So if the fundamental game class was about learning as an individual what skills go into game development, the advanced game dev class is learning how to play well together. It's about working in a team. You make a prototype, and then you make a green light pitch at the beginning of the semester, and only a small number of those games actually are greenlit. And then teams are formed around them for the rest of the semester, simulating a small game studio. This class is cross-listed with the Fine Arts Department. That's my buddy Dan Rule from Fine Arts. So in addition to computer programmers, there's also artists. There's also musicians, not pictured, but it's a whole game studio, everybody working together. And again, just like a bunch of pictures of people working on the games, talking, having a little like Scrum daily stand-up. And then again, just a bunch of pictures of various things, gilded pockets. You're a raccoon, you pick up gold, and then the gold slows you down, but it also gives you new abilities. It's a biting commentary on modern day capitalism. There's lots of things going on. Kindled Light, a beautiful kind of like Metroidvania style, like platformer. Lots of different like artistic styles. Tarot was like a rage quit game. The idea is that you're supposed to get angry as you try to progress. Cat Noir, it's about a cat that watches a detective TV show and then decides to become a detective of their own. And then again, lots of games. Quadrus, a match 4 game where you reconstitute the entire universe by building up tiny little atoms of things. We're going to see it. Look at that. We made a whole solar system. And then, yeah, Trap Party, a beautiful kind of like split screen, like competitive simultaneous multiplayer game. Wormhole, Rebound, Rising Paths, an asymmetric networked multiplayer VR game. Every single one of those adjectives I cautioned this team against pursuing, and yet despite my words of wisdom, they decided to do it anyway, and by gum, they pulled it off, proving me wrong, and I could not be more proud. So yeah, lots of games. And then in addition to the classes, UNO has lots of extracurricular opportunities. There's the Tolmas Scholars Program, where undergraduate researchers can get paid for working with faculty mentors, conducting research. These are 2 students, Brittany and Extel, that did games research with me and then presented that research at the Innovate UNO Symposium. There's also opportunities to work with cutting-edge technology. I'm happy to say that our lab actually has a lot of really nice VR equipment, and this is front and center. That's Norman Bennett, who's currently working at Stryker VR, Haptech, and he won Innovate UNO by just taking the initiative of creating an AR experience, a Halloween AR experience, the haunted halls of UNO. This is Daniel DeKerligan, a PhD student working with me. me, who in collaboration with LSU and also universities in France, made an architectural and social recreation of an 18th century Parisian theater that burned down in the 18th century and now lives again in VR, and there's a whole game surrounding around that. People have done work with natural language generation and natural language processing. People have applied games research to other fields like cybersecurity. One of my current students is making a rational reconstruction of faster than light, of FTL, and combining that with the Shadow of Mordor Nemesis system to create something brand new. Calder is clapping. I am so excited about this. He's defending his thesis in less than a month. I could not be more proud. I think it's going to be something really special. And then in addition to all of that, I'm happy to say that our lab and the university in general has secured a lot of funding for doing VR and grant research. This is for doing making some chemistry VR learning modules, and Calder is also clapping because he knows what's coming next. Connected to this is the UNO Beyond Reality Initiative, which in addition to being learning modules also manifested itself last summer in the UNO virtual reality summer camp, where we had an enterprising band of about 20 high school and junior high school students come together and spend 3 weeks, 8 hours every day learning computer programming, scripting, Unity, VR development, Blender, 3D modeling, also just game design in general with analog games, and that culminated in a big final showcase where everybody is really happy. Their friends and family came and played, and I know I'm talking quickly and I'm using my presenter voice, but you have to take my word for it. It was so sweet. There were a lot of people crying because it was such a lovely, wonderful experience. Look at this. And I know you don't know who these people are, but I know who these people are, and hopefully I'm manifesting into the universe the energy that I want you to have, that these are people who, many of them had no background whatsoever, and by the end, it's Calder! It's Calder! By the end, created something truly remarkable and special. And there's good news. We're doing it again this summer. So if you, watching at home, are a high school or junior high school student, or indeed, I don't want to make any assumptions if any of you are in high school, or if you know a high school student that might be into this, please, please, please contact me, email me. It was a great time last year, and it's only going to get even better this summer. Also, we've been involved with the Microsoft Game Camp when they were here. We've got a vibrant chapter of the International Game Developers Association. We've also, UNO has a nice esports lounge, esports cafe. We had, no joke, one of the top 0.1% Rocket League players in the world who just graduated from UNO. I'm not sure if the team has recovered upon his graduation. And then, that's the real meat and potatoes. But, I'm also happy to say that in addition to doing beautiful work at the university level, there's many students who have gone on and graduated finding gainful employment, doing game design, game development at various companies, and also, of course, finding employment at many other institutions beyond game design as well. I know I went way over my time. I apologize. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with all of you. Thank you so much. My name is Ben Samuel, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you, Angelo, who is already an enrolled student who comes to my office hours every day.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Ben Samuel.
Thank you.
I always like to put emphasis on the doctor.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to see if anyone has any questions, but thank you so much for coming.
And it was Timothy, right?
Etienne.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What was that? Etienne. Ugh. Etienne.
So the Light Lab, what's it studying? Do you got any specialties you focus on?
Yes, absolutely. So light is one of those situations where we kind of jam-packed things into the acronym. So it stands for the Laboratory of Intelligence, Games, and HCI Techniques. And so some of the things that I was talking about, right? Like the like the student who is making the VR experience, like that built off of the AI system that I developed for prom week and is applying it to these other situations. So like we used that same AI system and had like workshops, like international workshops with French scholars, like historians and literary scholars who were looking at like 18th century contemporary texts and using this AI system to actually like encode proper behavior in that. That student is currently working on combining that AI system along with LLMs to create a tool that is meant to actually teach you new languages, like teach you how to speak new languages. So a lot of the research is like connected to education. Also, like what we were talking about with the beyond reality, the like VR learning modules is also connected to the research that we're doing. There's a student right now who is taking another AI system that I helped develop that I did not mention here, the Kismet system, and they're working on like a visualization interface for that so that people can then take the simulated worlds that Kismet produces and then use that in other contexts. Specifically, the direction that they're using it in is for like tabletop role-playing games, and so a DM can now have like hundreds of characters and dozens of locations at their fingertips as they're in real time engaging with their players. There's a student who's using genetic algorithms to create like an automatic Mario player. So right now, constantly in the lab, there's a Mario who's getting slowly better and better and better as he gets further and further through the level. The thing he has the hardest time with is knowing that it's important to jump over pipes. He will just run into a pipe and then stay there. And then lots more besides. But that is the general view. It's creating AI systems that help facilitate other people's creativity. It's creating new systems that just inspire or enable new forms of game design. It's trying to find ways to combine computer science and theater arts, my background. That's what we do. Thank you. Etienne.
Awesome. So, next up, we have Mr. John Faberoni from Operation Spark.
Hi, my name is John. I'm going to make me look this way. And so I apologize because I don't have slides. And I don't have slides, but what I do want to do is just tell you a little bit about our organization and maybe show you some games and some curriculum and what we do over there. So first of all, Operation Spark is where I work. We are a trade school, essentially, and we have two programs, one for workforce adult track and one for high schoolers, for juniors and seniors. And the adult program that we run is the goal there is to try to get people trained as fast as possible up to a junior level in software engineering, and then help them get jobs. So we have an immersive track that's about 8 months of seat time, and depending on holidays and hurricanes, and you go from zero knowledge to a junior level software developer. And if you graduate from the program, you're going to get a job. Now, I guess over 100 companies in Louisiana and elsewhere have hired our grads. In the video game industry, Ubisoft has some of our grads over there. And yeah, the gist of that program is just to help people train very rapidly. It's immersive. You know, at the height of the program, you're studying 6 days a week, 11 hours a day. So it's very involved for the last 4 months of the program. But you get to, not spend 4 years in university. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But that's the goal, to just try to help people spend less money on school and less time in school. So our high school program is a 2-year track that is that basically follows the same kind of patterns or curriculum that we have for our adult program, but it's just over a longer period of time. So it starts for juniors, and they have a fundamentals class, an advanced class, and then they can elect to study with us a half day every day, kind of like vocational school, like NOCA, but instead of for music or whatever, it's for software development. Now that track, we have 18-year-olds graduating from that track and stepping into $70,000 jobs. So it's a different path to the industry, and one that is just a bit more rapid and a bit more immersive. So it's very practical. The way both that half-day program for high schoolers and our adult program. Once you're in the full-time part of it, the patterns, the work methodology is kind of like you're joining a software team as you would at a company, and you're creating software all day long. That's all you're doing. So it's just production. There's some things we've thrown overboard that are different from what you might learn in a university model. So there's not a heavy amount on research projects or innovation of new things. We're basically saying what's going on in the industry right now. Let's get you trained up to use those things and then help you get a job doing those things. For our video game programming in our high school program, now, can I share my screen here? So this year we piloted, while we get the screen sharing sorted out, I'll let you know that this year, so our in our high school program, after our students have taken their fundamentals and advanced class, they can take a couple electives with us that we developed. One is IoT, Internet of Things. So they start programming and working with hardware, and they have to do projects like create, create interesting things that to interact with some piece of hardware. So it's kind of on the pathway to creating smart home devices or things like that. That's the IoT class. The other class we have as an elective for our high schoolers is video game programming, the fundamentals of it. And in that class, the high schoolers are building a little mini physics engine themselves. So they're building the game loop and developing all that stuff from the ground up, and then using basic shapes and stuff to create video games. But this year, what we also did for our adult programming is we piloted a Unity game development track, and we had a number of our graduates from our adult program come, and once a week over last semester, we built out games. We stepped through building games in Unity, and then we had they had to show off their games at the end of the semester. So we went through. The goal of that program was to help people practice up enough to be able to write the associate level programming cert that Unity has. So, that was our pilot run at it, and we had a bunch of our grads go through it, and they're writing the certification. So, in January, at the end of January, we had our a big showcase, and about 9 teams showed off their games in that pilot. So it was really fun. Most of the stuff we were doing in that was, so there's 2 goals to that course. One was to get you practiced up enough to reach that associate level programmer, as certified by Unity. The second thing was, let's learn a bunch of game techniques in the Unity Studio, so that you, as an individual developer, could launch a game from start to finish. So all aspects of producing a game, you would be able to move very quickly on your own, or in a team if you wanted to with another person. But as an individual developer, you'd be able to create a game that was polished enough to be kind of a demo and launch it. And so not just the gameplay, you would have, the soundscape, some special effects, and, some kind of like point to your game and all that kind of stuff. So it was great. We had we're gonna run that again in the summer, and then kind of just move up the ladder there in terms of Unity's expectations around your level as a programmer. So this round was around, we were focusing on the associate level kind of skill set that you need to pass that exam, and then we're going to move forward and work on building games and practicing enough stuff that you would be able to pass the pro level cert. So we're going to be launching that in the fall. The pro level stuff. We'll be rerunning the associate level stuff in the summer of this year. So that is the gist. I was going to show you some games and stuff like that, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that. And I didn't bring any slides because I'm a deadbeat. I'm a deadbeat when it comes to presenting.
We're doing a little testing over here.
That's
to
Operation
see if we
Spark.
can
You
get that
can
up.
find us online at operationspark.org, and we also have showcases about every 8 weeks from our adult program, and they're really, really fun. They're party, New Orleans style party. Come on down, celebrate nerds with us. And then the other thing we do every month that you can come and get involved in, and I hope some of the folks online here will come and do some presentations. We do these nerd talks every month, and I hope that you all come in. So yeah, we just had one last night. A fella came and did some C# programming with us, and it was really fun. So we're doing those once a month. We call them Ned Talks, and they're usually in the middle Wednesday of the month. So I hope you find us online at operationspark.org, but also you can see our events listed at NOLA Devs, their website. Cool. I'm going to show you this game that we built. So I think this game was inspired by Jumpman, if you remember Jumpman. Yeah, so this was, shit. I'm just terrible at the game, sorry. I should have practiced. All right. Okay, so let me mute this mic here. Yeah, so the idea with the game is that, or the curriculum, that was one of the games that we built in the Unity class, and we finished it out over the semester to have it be a full game. Basically, you're gonna have your splash screen, you're gonna have your lobby where you can land and play the game, and then you're gonna have your gameplay, several levels if you want, and then you're gonna have your game over screen. You're gonna have a soundscape, some special effects, some lighting, and some. You have to create all of the art yourself too in this thing. So the idea is to kind of get you leveled up and practiced up enough in building games that you could launch something on your own, and you don't have to be in a team of people to do it, and really get inside gaming in a way that a platform like Unity allows you to do. If you kind of dip your toe into the different elements of it enough, you're going to figure out how to make something that's kind of works and feels good, and that's the whole point of a game. So that was one of the games we made. Our grads, I think we had about 9 or 10 teams that went through the whole course and showed off their games. I don't have any of their games on my machine right now, and I did have some of the high school stuff to show you, but I don't have Node installed on this machine right now, so I can't run a server because it's new, and I didn't get that set up before I ran down here. So That's Operation Spark. That's our video game programming stuff. Come check us out. Hope to see you at one of our NED talks or at one of our grad showcases. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, do you have any questions? Yeah, how do you convince high school students to do any kind of programming?
I think games are the hook, really. When you can show a youngster that they can create instead of consume, then sometimes the light bulb goes off. So, I mean, this year we have over 800, probably close to 900 kids engaged across the state of Louisiana, and that's over 300 kids locally. So our goal there is just, we hope everyone at least gets to do the type of material that's included in our fundamentals class, where they're building websites and they're building little games, so they can just see how things work under the hood. They can elect to go on to the advanced stuff, but ultimately, our high school program is there to try to help youngsters get on the path early, and then hopefully end up in one of your programs at UNO or at Delgado or at Tulane, et cetera, et cetera. And in fact, now actually our high school program, we have articulation agreements like with Delgado, with Tulane SOPA. So the kids that graduate from our programs, they'll get some credit at these universities when they transfer over to the various programs. So, that's the goal, is just to help youngsters really have a lot of fun, get jazzed about this, and see themselves. But more than that, like, really help them prep for university. They're going to come in, they're already going to know what the IDE is, how to check out, clone something from GitHub and make a commit and all that stuff. So, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for having us. I hope to see everyone. We should do like a game jam soon or something like that. All right, over to you.
Well, thank you, Don. Welcome. Go ahead and take the stage, brother.
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, my name's Don Grimion, and I'm going to talk about AIE if I can get my screen sharing going. So let's get that video, and let's see if
Proposition. That's a questionable proposition these days, but looks like you got it.
All right, there we go. I'm here to talk about AIE, or Academy of Interactive Entertainment. So what we are is a 2-year college focused on specialist education in the games and film industry. Who I am, again, I'm Donald Grimion. I teach game art and animation at the school. That's my primary role. So a lot of art. So what's my background? So I've earned my BFA at UL back in like 2009. And since then, I've been kind of working in a lot of different art-related fields. So from more indie game development, serious game development, working in like post-production for film, and just kind of marketing, production, and educational game development. So it's not about me; it's about the school. So where we're located is in Lafayette, Louisiana. We're located in the Light Building, or more acronyms, but we also have the school is originally from Australia, that they brought over, I want to say like 10 to 12 years ago, both in Seattle, Washington, but they originated in Australia. So what do we teach? So our 4 course offerings are 3D animation, VFX for film, game art and animation, game programming, and we're also offering game design and production as a newer track. But what you earn after 2 years is either an advanced diploma in your respective track, which is essentially a certificate, or you can kind of upgrade your advanced diploma to an associate of occupational studies by taking an extra semester's worth of general education courses, or articulating those from other high school programs or local college credits. But the actual curriculum is kind of just talking about the art side because it's what I'm most familiar with. Just kind of give a brief overview, and then I'll kind of show a lot of student work as I'm talking about it. So the art curriculum, a lot of the same subjects exist in year one, and then kind of splits off into game art specific subjects and then VFX specific subjects. Um, so for game art and animation, um, overall, broadly looking at kind of the subject offerings, you learn a lot about kind of just hit the ground running with 3D development, learning 3D modeling, best practices, learning a bit about you know character animation, just trying to look working towards the end goal of getting the first year of kind of like what I like to call the sampler plate of a lot of different parts of the pipeline. Whereas the second year is focused on kind of honing in your skills and trying to find what it is that kind of like your superpower, uh, what you want to concentrate on, and try to find, build your portfolio in such a way that it makes you more um, enticing to recruiters out in the industry to try to find work. But here's some examples of kind of student work or kind of across the board. Just getting an idea about this is the first subject that they go through, which is 3D art pipeline, as that the initial learning how to model just regular everyday objects, try to put nice lighting and texturing to it, and eventually moving into making more advanced using ZBrush for sculpting, learning better workflows for retopology, um, lighting and rendering. It kind of goes with all of that. Getting more character development from initial concept through, um, modeling, through texturing, and then finally through rigging to kind of construct the character, kind of bind their skin and pose them like an action figure. And then finally, or let's say finally, at the end of the first year, you're working alongside with other programmers and designers in smaller groups to actually develop your first game together, and actually working towards making arcade style games, either kind of like an endless runner, space shooter, something that's kind of with those kind of like basic rule sets. Um, so that way you can kind of work very quickly. And then we kind of move into the second year subjects where you're, working with other game engines, not just Unity, but also in Unreal, and working on kind of like what are the better practices for, like more advanced material creation or particle systems and more advanced lighting techniques, and kind of expanding your portfolio in such a way that you can, either create a character, a bipedal humanoid character, or kind of work with you and say, well, you're more of an environment or prop artist. You should make a spaceship as your character, or a giant monster like Monster Hunter. Something new we've been adding to the curriculum is getting a bit more VR experience, exposure to using the hardware and making kind of small game projects in there. Let me not play the audio because it'll just start popping gun sound effects, but just kind of getting used to using an Oculus Quest and kind of getting kind of setting the basic rules of, endless shooter kind of gameplay, where you have to shoot cacti coming in your bar. So move ahead. And again, at the end of the second year of the curriculum, or the entire pretty much second half of the school year, is dedicated to developing a larger form game project of about 16 to 17 weeks worth of pre-production planning, prototyping, and multiple iterative reviews throughout the process, um, and working through alpha, beta, and gold like builds through sprint reviews and things of that to improve and overall quality of the final outcome of the game. Where these games are meant to be, you know, uh, portfolio pieces for the student in working collaboratively. So, and then kind of sticking to the art side of things, 3D animation, VFX for film. Um, so a lot of it is focused on, uh, the visual effects industry. So a lot of it dedicated more so for pre-production and post-production, throughout pre-production, production, and post-production. Kind of getting a full range of that from storyboarding to compositing. So these are examples of digital lighting compositing projects where they have to make a 3D prop and or take an existing asset and try to match it to existing background footage or plates. Headphones or the book or the fake objects in the scene, kind of matching that overall lighting and presentation. And then kind of working, unlike the game artists, the VFX artists tend to work in either kind of a small commercial project or a simulated kind of studio environment where they have to have a client to work towards a particular like small advertisement. So we have worked in the past with local businesses like an escape room, healing house for grieving families, and a local theater group to create their advertisements for them. And then kind of also allowing the students the ability to work on their specialization, what it is that they want to focus on. So here's an example of a second year student from years ago that wanted to really focus in on making quality animation using existing audio clip and rig and just kind of making almost Pixar style animation.
The dangers of the Great White, but they neglect the treachery of the Great Me. On land, it is the Alpha who rules, but in the sea, it is I, the Beta, who is king.
Yeah. So again, kind of leading into different styles for the VFX course is either more purely animation or kind of mixing in with live action and visual effects. So currently, the current VFX students really focus on shooting with a camera, and they're making a giant kaiju, you know, run through a city and destroy buildings using like Houdini and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But all this is focused on like the end goal, like what does your portfolio look like? Do you have an online presence? Do you have an art station? Do you have Vimeo or YouTube? Do you have LinkedIn? Are you reaching out to industry? And we always kind of emphasize that. And kind of adding on to this discussion is also the course offerings, which is our game programming, where you're learning a good bit of C sharp, C++. You're getting exposure to working cross-platform with Unity and kind of like delivering to WebGL or other devices. Collaborating with game artists at different points of the curriculum, and also getting exposure uh, to Unreal workflows as well. Um, Again, kind of learning the overall foundations, creating code to create the systems to drive the overall gameplay mechanics, um, and working to create multiple games throughout your time at AIE, and considering also optimization, considering performance impact, and yelling at bad artists who don't give optimal assets into the engine and cause overdraw and giant textures. Um, and also just briefly talk about game design and production. Um, Talking about this is where kind of like lack of a better term, the sauce of the game kind of gets into it. It's talking about sound design, level design, kind of making sure that the user experience overall is considered with a lot of play testing and feedback throughout the entire process. So a designer's role is to make sure that the game produces the intended experience to the audience, and the producer's role is to make sure that things get finished on time and on budget. Um, so just making sure that those ideas are coming across in terms of the curriculum is making sure that um, you know questions always being asked. Does your level flow well? Are you testing this out? Are you actually play testing it and feeling with a with an actual controller or a mouse and keyboard? Um, and making sure that overall scope is isn't too large, and that you're planning and scheduling things accordingly based on the team's capabilities. So making sure that finding the fun is kind of like what the designer's role is. So um, but the way that the classes are structured overall is that it's 2.5 days a week, kind of like a work part-time job essentially, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then half a day on Friday. Is that it's usually divided up into guided lecture with live demos, and then a lot of in-class lab time to work on your stuff. While you don't necessarily have to have homework, you should, to keep making stuff even in your off hours. But it's simulating a studio-like environment where you can ask your instructor for help or a TA, and just kind of like the instructors walking around and checking progress and putting out fires essentially. Um, but the software that we teach primarily is Maya, the Adobe products like Photoshop, Substance 3D Painter and Designer, ZBrush for programmers, Visual Studio. We get access to working in Unity and Unreal. Other software like editing with DaVinci Resolve, doing uh, compositing with Nuke, doing other specialty things like Marvelous Designer for cloth simulation, Marmoset Toolbag for how to present your work, and Houdini for explosions and buildings blow up. But as far as like, what jobs are out there for, people going into this kind of industry, it's not necessarily just purely just game and app development, but it also can be, training through virtual reality and augmented reality, military simulations, 3D printing, and overall just film or television or advertisement and marketing. Um, yeah, and from local, experiences, like some of our students go and work at local game industry, such as like Pixel Dash Studios in top right corner. But just to kind of cap this off for me, I'm going to show a lot of the student work and their projects. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool. So that was my presentation. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for having me to talk about a bit about our programs. But yeah, if you guys have any questions.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, hi everyone. My name is Claude Richard. I'm a faculty member at Delgado Community College. I've been teaching there for I think 3 years full time, and then a couple of years beforehand adjunct. Time isn't real, so I don't remember anything. And so I will tell you about what we got here at Delgado. So our game dev programs. I know I've been here a few times before, and the one time I wasn't, my former coworker Nick had presented. And so you might have heard that we had an associate degree. Now we have more. So, and a big thanks to Chris Morrison, who is consulting with us and helped make this happen for us. So thank you. We have an associate degree.
I don't mean to
but we
interrupt.
also-
Chris Morrison is one of our co-organizers, so that's
Yeah,
part of the
shut up.
great work that we do here at NOGD. Sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you're good. Because yeah, this cool stuff wouldn't happen here, and this CTC CTS deal probably wouldn't happen. So thank you. But yeah, so and sorry, I'm all over the place because I just put this slide deck together tonight. So anyway, we have these certificate programs, a CTC and a CTS underneath our AAS, and that's a lot of acronyms. But basically, what that means is we have smaller credentials as onboard and offboard points for students. One of the big things we've noticed at Delgado, and I'm sure it's true for all other institutions, is students get started, they come to school, and they don't always make it to the end because life happens or just interests change. And it used to be for any game developer student or want to be game developer for Delgado, you had to reach the end point to get something. Otherwise, you just had classes, right? So now we have these CTC and CTS, one in game development, a career and technical certificate, which is just 4 classes, 12 credit hours, a CTS in game media development, which is 12 classes and 24 credit hours, and then finally the AAS, which is 20 classes and 60 credit hours. Those CTC and CTSs are all embedded in the AAS. So you can get that associate degree and you have smaller credentials underneath you, or you can just come for the CTC or the CTS and you have both of them automatically. So next slide. So each of these build on each other. And so starting at the CTC, 4 classes. 2 of them are the game development related classes, which I teach. I love teaching them. We start off doing just the broad welcome to games, hello world for games. You learn about what makes a game. You don't spend a lot of time in front of the computer. A lot of it is kind of by hand, coming up with concepts, understanding rules, making small traditional games. We would make like a card game where it was all right, make something up, and then we're going to test it with each other. Trying to make rules that someone can follow without you breathing down their neck, trying to explain it to them. Eventually, students then are in a group together and they come up with a game design document, come up with an idea, and make a prototype. Doesn't have to be in Unity, can be in anything, can be in Game Boy Studio, can be in one group did RenP. Most of them tend to choose Unity because we also, as part of their homework, they're preparing for the Unity Certified User Programmer certification. So that's what we do in one of the game classes, and then the higher level one, it's all Unity all day, baby. It is just, we are going through the Unity junior programming pathway, really building up those skills in 3D space, making small games that build on each other, and then going back and fixing up the old games you made to make them shiny and sparkling and wonderful like the games you made near the end. So we really focus ultimately on Unity. Additionally, students learn Maya and 3ds Max, so their 3D modeling and their 3D animations. We're lucky to have a wonderful adjunct instructor who's really taken the lead with the 3D modeling classes. I wish I could speak to it. That's not my area of expertise, unfortunately. But that is what our CTC encompasses. So it is you're in game dev, you're in 3D modeling, and you get those skills. Then next on up, the CTS, more classes, more content. This is the game media CTS. I like to think of it as so you want to make games, but you really, really super don't want to do a lot of programming and aren't super interested in the programming part. That's actually something I've had students come up to me literally and say, I'm really not into programming, but I have to do this computer information technology degree. And like, I'll keep going, but man, I don't want to do programming. And that happens sometimes. You realize maybe it's not for you, but it always really hurt to have to tell a student, please just stick it out. You have like 3 more classes, man. And it's that weighing of options. So the CTS here is, I think of it as the option for students who they aren't as into programming, or they really don't want to go the full IT computer science heavy track. This, we're focusing more, again, on asset creation. Yes, you're going to be in Unity. Yes, you're going to program, but you're also learning user experience fundamentals. You're learning how to use XD and Figma to create a good, wonderful experience between the human and the computer. You are understanding how your users operate and making sure that they are having a non-terrible time using what you've created. You're learning Photoshop, you're learning general raster graphics, And you're also learning agile project management. You're learning how to work in Scrum methodologies and with teams. Even if you're not doing the coding stuff, you're learning how to deal with everyone around to get a project done. So that's where our CTS is more focused, the art and people side of things, with that Unity core structure in the middle. And then finally, our Associate of Applied Science degree. This is the everything IT, programming and development, and then a game focus. So all of our computer information technology students, whether you're a programmer track, a web development track, information security assurance track, or a game developer track, has to learn Python, has to learn Java, has to learn HTML and CSS, has to learn fundamentals of networking and cybersecurity. Everyone comes away with that core IT knowledge. Then the game developer concentration, you do the Unity classes and the game development classes, and then you have the option to go either a more programmer heavy in your elective choices, where you are seeing if you want to do higher level Python, higher level Java, as well as C++, or perhaps you want to do more of the media creation heavy, which is Photoshop, Maya, 3ds Max. So even in the associate level degree, there is a little bit of choice in there for our students who are going to see it to the end, get the full associate level. But if you're a bit of an artistic minded person, you might still do those art classes that are built in that CTS. So that's mostly what those topics cover. And now this is the part that I actually like, partly because I don't have to think about numbers and classes, but I can show you some of the cool stuff our students have made. So I'm looking at my screen. It's I think it'd be left side because it's my left. So up on the high left, I have a little screen cap of Derby Disaster Panic, which was a game. One of my students, the first time I think I taught one of the higher level game classes, and I was literally thrown into it and was like, what are we gonna do? I know Game Boy Studio, let's do Game Boy Studio. And I introduced him to that, and he ended up making this really fun platformer where you're a skateboarder that suffered an earthquake, and now you have to skateboard your way through different levels, like a busted up town, and then skateboard over cars, and then skateboard in a drowned out mini mart or something. So it's really fun. It's kind of hard to play. Sometimes when we have kids test it, they get mad because hitboxes are a little different in a Game Boy Studio versus like, a first-person shooter. So there's that. I have some shots of, we recently had Steam Day where middle schoolers were invited to come to Delgado, and they got to see what we offer at Delgado, as well as other organizations in the community. And so I got to watch middle schoolers play games that my students had made, which is really cool. So in both those shots where there's like kids in front of a table, one kid is playing a demo some students made using some pre-built Unity assets. It's just a little platformer game. The other is playing a clone of the dinosaur game, right when Chrome, your internet's out, and so you have a little dinosaur game in Chrome. They made Pete's Run, which is a clone of it, skinned, programmed themselves, reskinned with some lighting effects and some animation effects. In the middle, I have a screen cap of one student group made a Ren'Py visual novel demo. I wish they had shared it publicly so I could actually have the link and give you guys, because it's kind of an interesting concept. Basically, you play a character who lives where they work. It's like it's like a company town but corporate office, and you have to choose whether you're going to keep being a good little worker under the capitalist boot, or you're going to start questioning things and trying to escape. And as you start maneuvering through, you find out your coworkers are all turned into monsters, basically, by the corporation. So really cool concept, and they made a really nice demo using some pre-built assets and modifying them a bit. Really wish I could share it with you guys because it's really kind of cool. And then the last two, one is Samurai Squared, which I really got to give props to this student, Dylan. He really led the group on it. He really went above and beyond. He was the main programmer, making a samurai game, a platformer where you play as a samurai, and you are beating up different cubes, collecting keys, It's actually kind of really hard. I'll have the demo for you guys to play. It's kind of hard, at least for me. Did a really amazing job at that. I just have a lot of praise for him for it. I was blown out of the water by it. Like, wow, okay, awesome. And then finally, Fight Forever. That group chose to make a game that was not digital. The students liked drawing, and the other student has, I believe, a daughter and a niece that he sees a lot, and was like, man, I always try to come up with games for them. What would be fun for them? What do they like? And so they came up with a really, really good prototype of this card game, printed cards out. I really hope that they go talk to like a board game, someone who can maybe publish board games and help them figure out, because I was highly impressed by it. So that's some shots that he had taken of the board game and the assets and everything that they came up with. I'm really proud of my students. I can't say it enough. So here's again some highlights of some of the ones I talked about with links for it. These are all ones you can play. I'll have a link to our webpage on our website at Delgado, where some of the games are, and I have a link also to the itch.io page where I just collect all their work. So again, some of them are Pete's Run, Samurai Squared, Derby Disaster Panic. Right. So, what do I leave Delgado with besides potentially a certificate, a higher certificate, an associate, and a teacher who's super proud of you and will end up putting your games on slide decks to show a bunch of strangers and say how great they are. So every student, regardless if you're at the CTC level, CTS level, or associate level, is going to come away with fundamental principles of game design in their toolkit. You can't escape it. You're going to learn how games work, how to think about games, and you're going to understand how to do some basic coding for games. You cannot escape without learning that. You also come away with hands-on experience in designing and building games and game assets. So I am a big proponent of, you got to make it, you got to put your hands in it, you got to get your hands dirty. You have to have items in your portfolio, because at the end of the day, no job is looking and asking, well, did you make an A, a B, or a C in Mr. Richard's class? No one cares. I think I have never been asked for my transcripts except for the jobs in academia. So unless you're going to be a teacher, you're not probably going to be asked that. No one really cares. We care what you make. So my students can't escape. They're going to make things. So you are never going to get out of here without having made something. And then finally, for an Associate of Applied Science students, if you go all the way, you're doing the full computer information technology Associate of Applied Science with a game developer concentration. You also come away with a well-rounded background in IT and specifically in programming, because we are a very programming-heavy track. That was our core basis before we switched out into a bunch of concentrations. So if you go the full associate, you will become very well-rounded in programming as well. And then final note, because I hope I'm not like taking up too much time, for any high school freshmen, and I believe also sophomores, I think that's about where it would be, but especially freshmen. So our associate degree is part of the Jumpstart Fast Forward program. Again, huge thanks to, Chris Morrison, as well as my former coworker, Nicholas Simino. They were the big part behind getting this to happen, this Fast Forward slotment with our game developer concentration. Basically, you're a high school freshman, you can earn your associate degree in computer information technology with a concentration in game development while still in high school, and graduate high school with your high school diploma and the associate degree, which I wish I knew about that when I was in high school. So, if you're a high school freshman, I think even sophomore, depending on how you figured your classes out, this is something to really, really consider if there's any rising freshmen or rising sophomores. Yeah, that's it. So check us out. This is our link to our page, dcc.edu/go/game/game dev. I will share that in the Google Meet with everyone. You can go there, see what we got, play some of the games our students made. And if you're interested, you can contact me. I don't think I have my email on the main page, but if you send it to cmin@dcc.edu, it shoots to me. I get it forwarded, so I'll see it. I'll respond to you. And yeah, thank you guys for having me. That's what I got.
Well, thank you so much. I want to introduce Mark Abenel, who's in charge of the DMAE program at LSU.
So my name is Mark Obenel. I run the Digital Media Arts and Engineering program at LSU. It is an undergraduate minor with an art or tech focus. We have 2 undergraduate minors, and it's also a 2-year master degree. So we've got a intense 2-year program that is project based, and we now have a new 3 and 2 joint undergrad master degree where you can get a bachelor's and a master's in 5 years. So it sort of shaves a year off the process if you're interested. Our program focuses on all the major tools you use in video game projects. So Maya, Houdini, Substance, ZBrush, Unity, Unreal, GameMaker, sort of a whole host of products. We make a lot of video games and video game prototypes. That's sort of the core of the program, but we've really diversified in the last couple of years. One of the things we started doing is that our graduating class has started working on 3 semester projects. So we make a game in about 16 months, which allows for one, they can take it to market. So this is the first time we've taken one of our games to market on Steam. And it allows them to really do a polished job on a game. 1 semester is really darn short to get something, to get a complete game thread through. So we started doing 3 semester long projects, and the second one is in its final semester, and they're going to be publishing in a couple months on Steam. So we started to publish our work on Steam, which is kind of cool. We raised a lot of money. So we got in 2020, we got about $1.25 million, and LSU threw in about $500,000 to build the XR lab, which I'll show you some videos on. And in the past couple years, we've raised about $8.5 million from NASA to develop a digital twin of the Michoud assembly facility in New Orleans. And I'll show you a video on that. We've had about 250 students go through our VR studio. We've got 17 grad students who are funded on the NASA Digital Michoud Twin Project. So we're funding the education. I think our cohort this year, we're about 23 students in all. And a lot of them are working on the NASA project. We're doing lots of multidisciplinary cross-discipline work. So in our XR lab, I'll show you a quick video reel here.
There's supposed to be sound for this, or it's beautiful visually, even if there is supposed to be sound. I think it's actually coming through very soft. That might be my fault.
So in the XR lab, we've got a 10-foot tall by 20-foot wide LED volume, the same one they used on The Mandalorian. And we have Unreal running in the background as we're using game engines in cinema and filmmaking now. The other thing that the team did is they helped athletics with a Jaden Daniels video. So they helped with his Heisman Trophy hype video that they shot in the lab as well. I'll see if I can get that to play.
My name is Dan Daniels. I'm from Saturday California. I want to be remembered as somebody giving me a chance program. Chances are better being a smaller kid and playing quarterback than many people that think I can do it. If this guy lands in the right spot, he will explode. No matter what, I always have more cool. It is a done deal. Jaden Daniels is a Tiger. Wait a minute. He's got to be the quarterback. best quarterback in the country. He's the best player. I didn't know he could throw. He's a fun guy. He likes to joke around. It's fun to be around. There's very little the opposition can do. Put together monster numbers. I mean, just straight video game numbers tonight. That kid is an ultimate competitor. 100% committed. This is the game. It's electric. He was sensational. That is elite.
And here's some behind the scenes footage of the shoot. So you can get a look at some of the work that the students are working on that is sort of beyond what a typical classroom assignment is like. So a lot of students were quite lucky to work on that video. The other thing we've been doing is we've been working with a lot of vendors. So in that XR lab, we use OptiTrack cameras, and we've worked with them to beta test new software updates. So when they've got new updates of Motive and other tracking software, we can update it. And they did a nice video for us on sort of our partnership with the OptiTrack folks.
Here at LSU, we've had everything in here from stand-up comedy to aerial silk. We've created a series of music videos from student film production classes, and we have experimental classes called XR Performance, where the students get to decide how they'll use the technology. Our long-term goals in this initiative are to train students to go into the film industry from Louisiana. OptiTrack is the gold standard in motion tracking cameras. So we have OptiTrack cameras all around our space here, and they're used for different things, from our experimental work with choreography and dance to creating real-time motion captured avatars on our screen.
Our virtual production program at LSU focuses on a couple things in and around this stage here. So a big LED wall, 20 feet by 30 feet. And we also have 8 off-the-track cameras all around here.
Whenever we are shooting our show and I play one of the characters on the show, you move the camera, the background adjusts with it, which is insanely convenient. It looks as if the camera is really panning and moving and rotating through the space, wherever we decide that is. It's kind of like something you don't even have to think about. Instead you're worried about what you're trying to create, while the OptiTrack system just works.
So the main reason we selected OptiTrack was for the flexibility. Not only can we track objects and people in space, but we can also track cameras.
The primary advantage of the OptiTrack system is that it's incredibly accurate and incredibly reliable. We turn it on and leave it on for days or weeks or months, and it's always there for us. It always works. Virtual production has been created in the past few years, and there's been a lot of tracking systems that have come and gone, but OptiTrack is still the gold standard. And for us, being on the cutting edge, being experimental, we're not looking at getting a new system. We just can't wait to get a few more OptiTrack cameras.
We're also working with the emergency medicine faculty at the LSU hospital. They do a centerline procedure where a medical doctor uses a what's that device called? It's a probe for a scan. I can't even remember the name of the type of scan we're doing, but it's a probe that you hold in one hand, and it's a needle that goes into the neck, into the trachea, and then they put a wire down into the top ventricle of your heart. And they wanted us to do a training video that was a video game in VR that encourages users to move both hands simultaneously, because the procedure is one of the hardest things they do to teach students. They don't have a lot of time to teach them, and it is a real hand-eye coordination challenge. So they thought doing VR would be more efficient than teaching it in the actual studio like they do currently. The other thing that we do is we do a global game jam every year. So we had our second one since COVID this past year. And then about 34 LSU students went to Chillennium 2024 about a month ago in Texas A&M. So we had so 300 people from across the United States. We took 3 vans up and 3 faculty, and we had a great time jamming in Texas. Let me see. There's just one more video that seemed to get. Did I block it or something? Or is it this one? Maybe it's this one. Nope, I've shown that one. Now let me I'll just show it to you manually. That didn't make my presentation. Very quickly show you. It is this one. Here we go. So one of the other big projects we've been working on is a digital twin for the NASA Michoud assembly facility. The actual real footage I'm not able to show. It's CUI data, unclassified confidential information, something like that. But we have developed a level of the simulation that is not classified that we sort of do most of our development work on, so we can work on our laptops and work at home and not worry about having any security protocol issues. So the app is going to connect all the NASA facilities eventually. So we want to connect Cape Canaveral to Kennedy to Michoud. All these facilities across the United States work in cohort to build the rocket ship, where different parts are built in different places. Things are shipped to Florida, and it's assembled in the Florida assembly facility. And here's some of the interior of the space. This is a web application that's running on Amazon. So you're remotely controlling it, and we've got Unreal Pixel streaming to the website. So we got a full website, full JavaScript website that interacts with the digital twin. So we can go from a typical web front end to sort of a game interface for the digital twin. This is really geared around an engineering focus. So we are trying to support the engineers in making scenarios for building future rocket parts easier, faster, and more budget friendly. And they basically have this digital playground that is an exact doppelganger of their factory. So that's pretty much, I think, all I've got to show. I think the industry is going through a really interesting time. We've got, the layoffs we're reading about, which is really sad. A lot of my friends are out of work right now. But also we've got like an explosion of use of video game engines in a whole bunch of other industries. So I think as one sector, the video game sector, is sort of going through its typical ups and downs, other sectors are coming up to make up for it. So I think it's an incredibly exciting time to be in this field.